So much. Thanks so much.
So let's see. So today we will be talking about scaling up. Scaling up. First, I'd like to open it up and say, do you have any strategies that you use for scaling up, or what does scaling up look like?
Okay. Normally, I've been hearing about it scaling up, and but to be honest with you, I don't really love that strategy. Like whenever I place trades and trades are going my way, I just do not even have any method of money management. I just leave it. Either it hits take profit, or maybe at some point I'll just like cut the trade. So I don't even have any strategy of me scaling up in profits. Like the more I make profits, the more I lock in. I don't even do that. I don't know why. I don't find it very interesting. So could that be that that is my way, or like what I suppose not a bit? I just don't understand. Like I would like you to emphasize more on that, please.
Okay. So yeah, what you're explaining is true. A lot of people get in their trading where they get to a comfortable spot where, like you
Yeah.
said, I'm comfortable trading this amount of lot size, this amount of shares or contracts, and now
Yeah.
I'm comfortable. I make consistent amount of money.
Yeah.
I know about how much I'm going to make a week. Now I'm consistent. The thing is, you can do that, but once you
Hmm.
start doing that, it is no really difference from you just having a regular job. A regular job, you work X amount of hours and you get paid the same amount for the amount of hours you work.
Yeah.
Many people get into trading to get away from that notion, saying that, okay, well, you on a fixed income. But a lot of times in trading, we don't like the uncertainty and the uncomfortability that scaling up comes with. So we
Yes.
just stay in this spot where we get high enough to where, okay, where it's like, okay, the numbers aren't too big to where I'm over risking myself, but the numbers aren't small enough to where I'm not making anything. We get this find this sweet spot. And
Yeah.
each trader has a different sweet spot. And it all I made a video on TikTok. I was like, and it all depends on how you were grown up, what type of family you were in.
Yeah.
A lot of people weren't born in multi-million dollar families. I'm not sure about you, but I know my families, my mom and dad aren't multimillionaires.
Wow.
So
Wow.
so uh thinking about that, risking 5,000 per trade, 10,000 per trade, a lot of that's kind of foreign to me. So once you start seeing numbers that large on the screen, a
Yeah.
lot of time it has a different type of psychological effect on you. You're like, oh my goodness. Once you get to a certain point, you stop looking at the percentage and you start looking at the dollar.
Yes.
And every tick, once you get higher and higher, every tick can either put you emotionally off balance. And
Yes.
I think it was either in the book Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas, how he talks about, the size of the contracts is the equivalent to being on a tightrope. And the more and more contracts you trade, the higher the tightrope is and the skinnier it is. If that makes any sense.
Yes.
But if you trade, let's say you are one contract trader, or your lot size is very small, you're
Yes.
closer to the ground, and the bridge that you're walking across, or the tightrope, whatever the case is, just go with a bridge. The bridge you're walking across is very thick and you're low to the ground. Your
Yes.
risk is very low. You're not gonna feel anxious. You're still
Yes.
walking. Everybody knows how to walk, so it's not like you're not gonna know how to walk. But let's say you put that bridge a mile in the air, and now you're walking on a 6-inch beam. So now, okay, that's the equivalent to trading a bigger lot size or bigger contracts, or bigger shares. So now, once you're trading with that, every step is a little bit more cautious. You are still walking, but you have a smaller, like, how I say, you're risking a lot more, and every
Yeah.
tick in each direction can put you out of the emotional stability quicker. If that makes any sense.
Yes. Yes. It makes sense. It makes sense.
So how he was saying, in order to scale up, we have to take things slow. We can't go from trading one contract, two contracts, to trading 100 contracts in one day.
Yes.
Um, One, because our nervous system has not adapted to the bigger risk that we're taking on.
Yes.
Um, so in order to get there, we have to say, okay, well, maybe I'm risking $100 today, and say tomorrow let's risk $150,
Yes.
and come and not saying okay, $150 today, 200 tomorrow, 250. No, 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 no. Become okay with the 150. Over
Hmm.
a span of 10 to 20 trades, become okay with it. And once you do it so many times and you get your nervous system and your brain
Used to it.
adjusted to trading that lot size, now you're
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah.
So
And you cannot adjust.
yeah, yeah, and connecting those, and every time you take a step up, become
Ye-
proficient and comfortable at that level, and then go
Yes.
up. And then, like you said, you
Wow.
have your journal. So your journal is
Yes.
going to be very important with scaling up.
Yes.
When you
Wow.
scale up, when you scale up, you are going to learn more things about yourself than you would. When you are in a comfortable environment and you are trading comfortably with your lot size, a lot of people are the best trading, they have the best emotional discipline ever. But
Yes.
it is once you start to increase the risk and increase your lot size is when those weak spots within yourself starts to get exposed. I
Yes.
think
Yes.
I was reading, in another book, The Psychology of Trading by Brett Steenbarger. Hopefully I said his name right. But he was talking about how with like a production line, they said when the production line, like making like assembly cars and stuff, when they're running at a slow pace, everybody's
Yes.
doing good. Everybody's doing good. But in
Yes.
order to figure out the weak spots, they sped the line up. Once you
Yes.
sped the line up, then you started to see where things were getting weak. Maybe people weren't putting the nuts on right.
Yeah.
And then you can address it. But
Hmm.
you are never able to grow unless you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation.
Hmm. Powerful. This powerful.
So if a lot of people get to trading and they stop growing, they
Hmm.
stop growing because they hate the feeling of uncomfortableness. Once you
Hmm.
start trading, once you get into trading, you're uncomfortable because you don't know anything. And the only thing you want to do in trading is become comfortable and become profitable and consistent. And
Hmm.
if that is your goal in trading, you will get there. A lot of
Hmm.
traders get to that profitability and that consistency that they earn, right?
Yes.
But once they get there, they feel like that is the end goal. They don't continue to grow and continue to stretch themselves because they knew how uncomfortable it was once they started trading. So once they got to a comfortable spot, they stopped. They shelled up, they set up camp, and they stayed there forever.
Hmm.
That is why
Wow.
a lot of traders struggle with scaling up because you are continuously making yourself uncomfortable, and a lot of people are not comfortable being uncomfortable. What's up, man? How you doing?
Yo, what's up, bro?
Yo, yo, yo. Like I said, just to kind of fill you in what we talking about right now, we're talking about how to scale up in trading and the psychological effects that it has on us with scaling up and why a lot of traders struggle with scaling up. And what I was telling to him, I said a lot of people get into trading, and the first thing, you're uncomfortable, right? When you first start, you don't know anything. There's graphs, there's lines everywhere. You don't know anything. So the first thing you want to do is get comfortable. And a lot of people, once they get comfortable, they stop growing. And a lot of people have this threshold of, the money that makes them comfortable. Maybe it's risking 100 or $200. And once you get comfortable, you stop stretching yourself. So, like I was telling him, in order to do that, in order to keep growing as traders, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Um, and like I was saying, there's no point in stopping your scaling up. Like if you just want to make $200 or $300 a week, or however the case may be, that's right. But there's no point in staying there because most people get into trading for the freedom and the unlimitless of how much money you can make in trading. If you just want to make X amount a week, you might as well just go get a regular job. But in order to reap the full benefits of trading, you need to be able to scale up. You never know how much potential you have until you put yourself in those those uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
Um, and so I asked him, and I'll ask you as well too, since you joined. Like, do you have any systems as far as trying to scale up and put on more risk and be able to grow within your trading that way?
Yeah, yeah. So I will even say, right, with how I scale, and I'm a full-time day trader and everything, right? So like just kind of like my whole big thing of scaling is certain thresholds that you have to meet in order to. So obviously, right, you build a buffer, right? I just do everything by contract. So if I want to scale up another contract, I have to make sure that if I scale up another contract, if I take 10 losses with that contract, then I would still be okay to trade. And like that's how I kind of go about just going like, all right, if I want to scale up to another contract, okay, if I want to go three, I'm at two contracts, right? And I want to go three contracts, knowing,
Mhm.
okay, every 10 points with this contract, right, it's gonna be, $200, right? So if I get to scale up to three contracts, right, that's gonna be $600 for just my stop loss, right? All
Mhm.
right, bet. So I need to make sure that my buffer is big enough in order to trade that. So I'm relatively looking at like a 7K buffer in
Yeah.
order to build up to that three contract trade where I am building up that capital. Like you said, just being able to do this for the freedom, right? You got to just make sure you hit those thresholds of your account balance. And that's how I do it. I mean, everybody has their own way, but just how I kind of look at it, it's like, yo, making sure you hit your account thresholds before you're thinking about scaling up. And if you do drop, right, you decide, hey, I scaled up and I started taking mad losses, right? Have a percentage that you lose to where you drop that contract size back down.
Mhm. Yeah.
So if you do lose, right, with three contracts and you're back, your account balance is back at 4K when it was at 7K. Right now you drop it back down to two instead of having it at three all the way to your zero.
Yeah. I said that's right. And there's not really one set way, or static way of being able to grow your account. Like you said, everybody has different tactics, different methods because everybody's different.
Hmm.
And everybody has those different thresholds. Like I was telling Favor, I said that a lot of times your threshold depends on how you were raised. You know, somebody raised in $1 million household maybe are more comfortable handling more amounts of money than somebody who, grew up on welfare, right? Because the way you perceive money is different. You don't look at money as more accessible as the person who grew up in $1 million household. So when you see all these numbers on your screen, you're like, man, you stop looking at the percentage amount and look at the dollar ticks. And I was telling him in one of these books I was reading, it was talking about an assembly line and making the cars. Of course, I know you're familiar with that. And they said when the assembly line is going slow, everybody's doing good. Everybody's knowing everything's going right. But in order to increase production and to find out where their weak points are, they sped it up. So once they sped up the production and things are going faster, then they were able to pinpoint the points where they needed to grow in. It's the same thing with trading. If you are trading on a smaller lot size, shares or contracts, most of us have emotional discipline when the risk isn't there. And then most of us get comfortable there. But once you increase your lot size, increase your shares or contracts, however the case may be, your weak points starts to show, and many traders don't like when their weak point shows, so they don't scale. But that is when your journaling come that's when journaling and understanding what happens becomes so important, because once you get there, many people, let's say, that's when hesitation, fear, all of those start to come out once your lot size gets so big. And being able to journal and write those down and actually understand what is going on with inside of you, that is how you will grow, becoming uncomfortable. And that's all scaling up in trading is learning how to gradually become comfortable in the uncomfortableness of the risk that you're taking, right? And
Right.
just like you said
Uh,
here, yeah, gradual increases, whether it be 10% or one or two contracts, every time. Uh, and being able to kind of master, okay, I made one contract, okay, 10 to trades, okay, now I'm comfortable here. Now let me go to two contracts, 10 or so trades, being comfortable here. Gradually going up, not just, hey, well, I made a whole bunch of money with one contract, let me jump to 10. It's you're not used to that yet.
Yeah, you can that big difference because when you enter that position, you see how one tick drops down your P and L. Your emotions gonna be all over the place.
You see, so and that's what I said. Once you start building up right quick, you start looking at the dollar. Like, man, instead of saying, hey, 1% of $100, okay, that's $1. Okay, 1% of $100,000, ooh, we okay. You're like, oh, okay. Let's go back here. You start losing more a lot quicker. And a lot of times I've spoke with traders that once they scale up, some people they look at the euphoric sense of how much they can make and not even look at the risk of how much they can lose. Saying that, oh man, if I made a 50 or 100% trade on a $2,000 trade, man, just guess when I put this $50,000 trade on, how much I'm gonna make. You
Yeah,
know,
we use it all.
it's like, man, let me just do the exact same thing. But they fail to realize that a lot of times you are more comfortable with that smaller trade. So
Yeah,
once you get to that bigger trade, you're probably like your decision making is going to be clouded because now you're only looking at the dollar, right?
yeah, exactly.
So let me see here. And I'm gonna ask I guess I'll go first. One the question here is like, have any of you guys ever scaled up too quickly and blown an account? Uh I'll start first. Mine is yes.
Yeah,
I've blown plenty accounts by scaling up way too
yeah,
quickly. And I look back and like, bro, I
uh,
like I'm doing it's supposed to be the exact same thing. Like I'm still entering a trade. I'm still looking at my strategy, but what changed? Like, how am I such a bad trader? I was like, how am I such a bad trader at when I trade this contract size, but I'm such a good trader here? I'm able to grow an account from here to here, but as soon as I reach here, I always lose. Like, what's going on?
It's normal.
Yeah, it's and what it says here is was like our nervous system hasn't adapted to the more contracts or the risk that we're able to do. And I think Mark Douglas and I think Tom Hogarth, they give an example of like the a bridge, and it's like, okay, let's say a bridge is a mile up off the ground, right? A bridge is a mile up off the ground, and I gave it to Favor earlier. A bridge is a mile up off the ground, and the width of the bridge is correlated to how much risk we have. Let's say we only have one contract, the width of the bridge maybe is 6 feet. You probably feel comfortable walking across a bridge that's 6 feet long. You're walking, everybody knows how to walk. But let's say you're trading with 100 contracts now. Now the width of the bridge maybe goes down to 6 inches. And you're still walking across. And but now, most people feet maybe is about less than 6 inches wide. So your whole foot can fit on there, but knowing how much risk you have, a lot of people start to get off balance and starts to get clouded. You start looking at how far down you got instead of just trying to get across the bridge. And that's the same way with us. When we start to scale up, we stop looking at just trying to execute the trade that we know how to execute. We start either looking at, man, how much am I losing, or am I able to do this? Do I have the ability to be able to do this? And you start trying to, you self doubt, you start, the fear comes in, that fear of either falling, losing your account, and you're trading off of emotions now instead of trading off of your plan. um so that's going in. So of course, practical techniques you can do to scale. Of course, we've already said it. Gradual scaling up. And once you scale up and once you start to find those weak points, it's not if you find them, it's once you find them. Everybody has weak points. Everybody has thresholds that they have with their account size. Once you get there, journal it down. journal down. Okay, once I started trading with 10 contracts, what did I do? Did I hesitate? Was I telling myself that I was waiting for confirmation when I was actually scared of losing the money that I have, right? You know, and I've even heard one trading coach say, just get in the habit of entering and exiting trades with a bigger contract size, just at break even. You're not even looking to profit. Just get better at just putting on the trade that's at a higher risk level and taking it off. Being able to build that habit, because again, in trading, we are growing ourselves, we are making ourselves uncomfortable. And once we get there, a lot of us tend to stay there and set up camp, right? You can't consistently trade. So, is any of this making sense? I don't want to
Yeah,
go
yeah,
all.
you're making sense. You're making sense.
Okay. I just want to just wanted to make sure some of this is making sense, and I'm just not blabbing. No.
No, you're making a whole lot of sense.
Hold up. Uh, do you have anything to say, Favor?
No, I don't. Like you ask, if anyone of us have scaled up. Yeah, I've actually scaled up, but I ended up blowing the account. So I would
Yeah.
say that, yeah, I didn't even allow myself to become comfortable with the particular contract I was trading before taking it, or like taking the decision to scale up. So that was just happen.
Yeah. And well, what about you, Tex?
Oh no, yeah, it makes sense, bro. Like I even think just yeah, like the similar thing. I mean, the whole like putting on the risk, right? You shouldn't even be putting on the risk unless it's in your risk rules that you
Hmm.
can risk that amount. In my opinion, I mean, everybody has their own ways, but I would say like because the whole game, right? Like you was just saying, like it's to stay alive, right? You want to stay alive in trading, and I would say just, eventually you're gonna get to that point where you can risk more. It's a gradual thing. You just gotta really realize and really understand that, training is not going anywhere, right? If you were to die tomorrow, that's cool. You just go meet Jesus in heaven, right? And meet God in heaven, right? That's cool, right? Because we're not bringing, the charts with us anyway. But you just gotta kind of realize, like, hey, like the charts are not going anywhere. You're gonna have forever as long as you live to trade. It's not like you're gonna forget how to trade one morning or anything like that. So it's
Yeah.
just, having that realization and realize that, hey, eventually I'll be able to, risk higher, and not have the FOMO of seeing everybody else risk way more, YouTubers and, the social media guys, right? Seeing them how they risk a lot. Bro, they've been doing this for, 5, 6 years.
Hmm.
They went through that process of, eventually building it up. So I would say, just as like a thing to look at, hey, trading's not going anywhere. You have forever to do it. In a year from now, you're gonna be, a different trader than you are now. It's just facts. No matter what, you're gonna be different. You either be better or you be worse. But
Yeah.
you're never gonna stay the same.
Exactly. And so for you, Tex, how long have you been trading?
For 2 years.
Okay, 2 years. And you, Favor, how long have you been doing it?
Same 2 years.
Okay, so I think I came into trading during COVID. So it's been around 5 years for me when I've been doing it, and I've talked to traders who've been doing it for double the amount of years I have, and the amounts that they trade with, hey, is sometimes I can't even amount to it, and it's not prop firms. They're trading with their own money. A lot of these people I met on either Twitter or however the case, and some of them have $100,000 accounts, their accounts. Um, and the thing is, when I first got into trading, my thing was like how you said, Tex. It was being surviving and staying open and keeping your account there. And I feel like in trading, once you first start, that's what you have to think. You have to be that risk manager, being able to keep your account alive, right? But once you are comfortable there, there's another step where you're changing from the survival trader to you're actually going into thriving. You're not looking at to just survive anymore. When you're just surviving, you're doing just enough, in order to grow it little by little. But once you're able to do that, there's another step, and is that step is very uncomfortable. Being able to say, all right, well, I've made it past this. I am just surviving. So now let me grow, let me expand. A lot of us know that trading has, a ceiling, but no, not really a ceiling. A lot of us know that there are unlimited possibilities within trading, but we start to limit ourselves and we say that, well, I don't know if I would be able to trade with that amount because, again, of our whatever beliefs we might have. So once we get to a certain point, we're like, okay, well, I feel like this is enough. I feel like I'm only okay to make a few $1,000s a week. Maybe I shouldn't make more than that. Or maybe I'm not. That's not who I am. We start to put these limiters on ourselves, but knowing that wherever we are, there's people on there. Like I say, if you go out to New York and go on the floor traders, a lot of them are putting on 10,000 contracts at a time, bro. There's levels to this. We it's not just okay. Well, I'm comfortable making $2,000 or $3,000 a week. Now I'm good. Hmm. Well, that can be if that is your motive. If that's what you can, yeah, it can be. But what I'm trying to say is that there is more to what we're in, and there is the possibilities of what we are doing and trading is not capped by our limiting beliefs on our life. Just because we believe that $3,000 is good enough a week doesn't mean that that is all we are capable of doing. We might be capable of hitting ten or $20,000 a week. And if you're like, man, I don't know about that, and that means that okay, well, you have to work up to that if that is what you want to do. A lot of people don't desire to scale up in trading because it is uncomfortable, and a lot of times it shows your weak points. If you just want to consistency of a few $1,000s a week, it's okay with you, that's fine. I've talked to traders where a few $1,000s a week won't even pay their bills. So being able to know that, okay, well, there's levels to this thing, and if I would like to grow in trading, a lot of that you have to accept this risk and be able to grow yourself gradually at a time, right? And it doesn't take like you were saying, takes if people aren't only in it for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, you didn't even mind 5 years, you still have to be in it for a while. Most people don't work up to that $10,000 contract range until maybe after 10 years or so, like that, right? And
Yep.
like you said, the market is not going anywhere. But just having that in the back of your mind that maybe a decade from now, you know, my whole account size is what I will be risking on one trade. Maybe, you know, being able to know that the possibilities are limitless in this game that we play. Um, so again, this hello, wait, somebody said something.
No.
I don't think so.
Okay. Um, so being able to do that is you have to ask yourself, what is my goal in trading? Is my goal in trading to just make consistent income or to stretch myself and be the best trader I can be? And whichever one, there's no right or wrong answer, but you just need the truth within yourself. Are you willing to go that route and expose your flaws in order to grow? Or do you just want to get to a comfortable spot, and just make enough to, suffice in your means, not really just be extravagant, not make too much, but you have peace, you're okay with it, and that's it. Whichever one you choose is up to you. All I was saying is that there is another side. Once you become profitable, there is another step you can take. There is maximizing your profitability and being able to go from, all right, I'm here, I'm making $3,000 a week, to now let me make $6,000 a week. Double it and then double that. But it's a slow grind. It's a slow process. You know. So yeah, if most people, if trading is not their passion, and that's not really, just look at it as an income in order to fund their passion, that's fine. I've talked to a lot of traders just like that. Being able to just say, you know, I'm okay making $3,000 a week. You know, that funds me being able to go on trips, not really have to work a 9 to 5, and you know, just chilling. Okay with that. Fine. Just also knowing that if you do want to take it to the next level, that you have to become uncomfortable, but be comfortable in the uncomfortability, right? And also journal down what mistakes you are making while you are uncomfortable. Mine, just being open, one of mine was that once I started scaling up, or when I would scale up, my losers would become so big and I would not like to close them out because I wasn't already accepting that bigger loss. I was just wanting the bigger win. So, like how you said, that one tick can put you emotionally off balance. And now you don't want to close the trade because you wasn't okay with losing that amount of money yet. You know, I didn't work myself up to it. That comes from scaling up a little bit too fast. Um, so again, it all just goes back to time and gradual increases, and also understanding your weak points as you grow. You won't grow as a trader unless you make yourself uncomfortable as a trader, unless you're understanding your weak points. Just like with the assembly line, they would have never been able to raise production unless they sped up production to figure out where they fell short and target that, you know. So it all just goes back to our what we want to do as traders, where our end goal is as traders, or where that glass ceiling that we put on ourselves. You know, my glass ceiling, my glass ceiling is as soon as my when I was first starting, as soon as I got to maybe let's say $5,000 in my account, uh I would start to break down. I would start to think a little bit different. I was like, man, I'm right out of high school. I'm trading with $5,000 in my account. When I was with $1,000, I grew it to $5,000 quick. As soon as I got to 5,000, I went right back down to one. It was like this cycle. It's like, bro, why can I not grow it over this? It was because I wasn't accepting that, okay, hey, I'm going into a different ball field, and I felt like I wasn't even worthy of the money coming into my account, right? I felt that, I started to feel guilty because I looked at my mom or my dad who works all day long for a few $100s. And I'm like, man, I'm making a few thousand in a minute or a few minutes, right? Am I even worthy of this? Is this real? Um, so it all goes back, to those limiting beliefs that we have on ourselves and our lives, and how far we feel we can go in our lives. So let's say I'll open the floor back up if anybody would like to say anything.
Oh no, yeah, bro. Like I think you're just 100% right. Like you're spot on with everything that you're saying, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, all right. So going into this week, let me see. Yeah, it's 9 o'clock. Yeah, we can go ahead and start it, end it up. Going into this week, I challenge, I challenge all of you guys to just scale up just a little bit, not too big, not too big, but take on the challenge of being just a little bit uncomfortable. Don't go too far. Don't go extreme, but just a little bit. And once you go up a little bit, you will start to see the weak points within yourself. But write it down. Write down, okay, when I scale up, I tend to either overtrade, or I tend to uh hold on to my losers a little bit longer, or I tend to hesitate. Whatever that is the weak point in your trading that you have to pinpoint. And if your goal is to make a little bit more, is to grow yourself within your trading, you have to identify that. They can't go unidentified. You have to be okay with identifying the weak parts in yourself. And I do know that I was stagnant within my trading for a while. I grew, I became profitable, but I didn't grow from there. That was that median I was in. I was able to, like I said, I've never got a funded account, maybe looking into it, but with my own capital, coming right out of high school, I was like, okay, 1,000 to 5,000. I was able to make money, able to make money. But as soon as I got to that threshold of maybe $5,000 in my account and risking a little bit more, I started to see the problems within myself and started to see the weak points within myself why I couldn't grow it over that $5,000 mark, why I couldn't hit 5 digits in my personal account, and just understanding yourself. It's all about understanding yourself. And I know you guys know that, but I didn't like to feel that way. Me, myself personally, I didn't like to feel uncomfortable. I didn't like to feel because it put me back how I felt when I first started trading. Like I was a nobody, I was a loser, I was a failure. It will put me back in that mindset. But understanding if you're not learning, you're not growing, right? But and I understood that my purpose and what I wanted to do was continue to grow, be able to get bigger, and my lot size bigger. So I had to become uncomfortable. I had to understand that being uncomfortable is how you grow. Just like when you work out, you're gonna feel pain, you're gonna be sore, but at the end, your muscle recuperates and gets stronger. Just like with trading, you might feel butt hurt that you lost the trade when you scaled up. Man, I shouldn't have listened to that. Man, I scaled up and now I lost.
Yeah.
But it's at the end of the day, if you if we lose right now, we are still growing the skill. And if you grow the skill, you are able to make that money back probably times 10 once you get it back, right? Um
Exactly.
so it's like because we're in a game where it's not really time. I can't say, well, like you are working with time, but the real asset is your skill. I'm not really trading time for money. So I can't say, oh, I wasted my time doing this. No, you can't really say that because you don't because I see people. I'll sign into Reddit right now, and I can see somebody make $100,000 in a trade right now. And of course, yes, that person maybe has a huge account size, but the thing is that it is showing you the possibilities that can occur, not showing you that's probably not normal, and you can't say that like, well, this person's doing this, so I need to be doing that. No, no, no. I'm not saying that because they're a different part of their journey than where you are. I'm always just pointing out to traders that the journey doesn't stop once you become profitable. There's always more ways that you can evolve and train yourself in order to get better and grow as a trader, right? So, um, I'll leave it off there. Not wanting to go too far in depth, too much, take up too much of your time because as y'all probably can see, I can talk all day long about this stuff. uh,
You probably can do a whole cinema, huh?
man, yeah, I really can. I actually love it, but um like I said, you don't get better at scaling just because you want it. You get better by training your nervous system not to panic when you're under pressure. You know, the way you act when you're up 5x shows whether you're still the same trader or if you're just lucky. If you're up really big and you get overhyped on a trade, or you get very bogged down in yourself on a bad trade, you know you are still kind of, how I say, subject to the outcome of your trade instead of the process. you know and again, there's a difference between increasing sizes and just inflating your ego. Some people just like to go up on their lot sizes or shares or contracts just so they can get a screenshot, bruh. But just so you know, after that screenshot, most of you guys know what probably happens after the screenshot happens. You're taking screenshots, but you're not closing the account. You're not closing the trade. So, like I said, I've been there. I'm the first to say I've screenshotted something. Man, bro, I just made X amount in an hour, bro. And then after I post it, I go back and look and it's gone. So again, bro, it's coming okay with yourself and understanding that through growth is being uncomfortable. Ask yourself, have I been comfortable? Have I reached that stage in my trading where I'm comfortable? I know how much I'm going to make. I know how much I'm going to lose. I'm being consistent. That's the same mindset that a lot of us have when we go to a regular 9 to 5. You know how much you're going to make. You know how much you're going to lose. Yeah, you might not want to go, but you kind of get a just idea of how much you're getting. But in order to accept the trader's mindset and accept how trading goes, you know, it's scalable. A lot of times 9 to 5s can be scalable, but in the vast majority, it's only scalable unless your boss says you're going to get a raise, right? So you become okay with doing the same thing over and over and over again. And many of us fall into that trap with trading. We find ourselves doing the same thing over and over and over again. And while you can do that, while you are making consistent, it is also okay to make little tweaks in order to grow. You know, if you say, "Oh, my trading's perfect, I don't have to change anything." If you haven't changed, not just in your like your strategy. I'm not talking strategies. I'm saying kind of tweaking the way you think, or at least finding the weak spots within yourself as trading. Because we all have those emotional impulses that will cause us to do things that we later look back and and say, "Well, I shouldn't have did that." Well, before I keep going into something else, I'm gonna
Yeah.
end it off there. I hope a lot of you guys, have a great week. Stay disciplined, stay sharp, and again, think about the challenges that I put to you guys. Scale up maybe just a little bit, or think about ways that you can maybe scale up in the future, or continue to write journal down. Favor, he said he got a journal last
Yeah.
week.
Yes.
Writing down some of his emotion. That's great. That's great. Understanding what you are doing. You can't better yourself if you don't understand what's going on. So
Yes.
again, open it up if any of you guys want to say some last remarks or anything.
Nah, bro. I mean, I think you hit it spot on.
You
All right, man.
said all. Said all.
Well, I appreciate you guys for stopping by, just checking out, seeing what this old man got to say.
Hey,
And I said, I wish you guys the best week. Stay
you
sharp, stay
too.
disciplined, and
You
continue to
too.
always keep growing, man.
You
Yes,
too.
sir, bro. God bless, dog.
All right, God
Thanks
bless
so
you
much.
too, man.
God bless you.